Any abstentions? Carried. Thank you. Right, on to Item 8, the Regional Arts and Culture Grants Program allocation for 2024. I will move those, but we do want... Poor Catherine has been sitting there all day because she thought she was first. So I know you've been doing a bunch of work just in case we sped up the program. And Councillor Theory, I think, wanted a second. Thank you.
Kia ora. So we've got the two grant programs coming up here now. The first is the Regional Arts and Culture Grants Program. This is usually done in 2 rounds throughout the year, but due to the timing of the budget announcement this year, there's only been time to do it all in one towards the end of the year. This is very much as it has been in past years. There are a wide range of grants recommended. The grants process is very rigorous, and the grants support the Community Grants Policy, Toiwhi Tiki, Auckland's Arts and Culture Strategic Plan, Auckland Plan, and some other governing body policies. So I'm happy just to take questions.
Thank you so much. I know the mountain of work that goes into this. Are there any questions? Councillor Baker.
Yeah, so just to, it's based on a policy that's 10 years old, and we were having a discussion last week about how we fund through ARAPA and another funding mechanisms. And so, I know that some of the local boards are moving away from grants and moving into funding agreements, which allow greater certainty for organisations, and also easier for us probably in budgeting. And I look at all of the information and there's a lot of information that sits in behind this, and I struggle to see why it is we're saying yes to some and why we're not saying to others, which for me is a bit of an accountability, because it's a reasonable chunk of money, and we're throwing all of the accountability basically back to staff, because all we're doing is saying, yep, we're trusting exactly what you say. And so I guess my question is it time or that we look at the policy, and are we able to look at alternative funding mechanisms? I note that some of them, that there are agreements and things that sit there, but I've never been a huge fan of sort of random grants that are done every year for a variety of reasons, and if we can find better ways, I'd love to see us do it.
Through the chair, are you okay if I answer it? Catherine, you're welcome, please, to add if you need to. You'll be aware that through the Mayor's Manifesto, and there is work being done broadly around, I guess, funding and the role in those arts and culture, particularly ARAFA and some of those other bigger funding streams that you mentioned. I wonder whether I could take that offline, Councillor, and just get some advice and link it to that, because if it's not connected, I think it's a really useful thing to do, but I'm just not sure of the answer right now. Is that okay?
And just to alleviate your concerns on this too, Catherine and I and others have spoken about this, Councillor Dalton as well. The issue has been the uncertainty last year. Obviously these grants were wiped out and then the Mayor put them back in, and we haven't had a chance yet to sort of refocus. This is a double grant round, as usually would be half. So we will hopefully have a better system by the end of the year or next year, but it will have to be supported by all of us, because I think you're exactly right, Councillor Baker, and the groups that do get those 3-year fundings are really appreciative of the certainty, and I think there is a better way to do it. And Councillor Theory has also given that feedback that she'd prefer a more streamlined way of doing this rather than coming to us. So it's just into that weird intermediary phase at the moment. So kia ora. Member Ashby.
Kia ora, thank you for the report and some good outcomes there. Just a quick one from me. I can't quite get a feel for it from the info, but I guess I'm looking for info in terms of the tracking over time with these grants. Māori applicants or organisations, are they steady, going down, going up?
Yes, with this this fund, I think in the outcomes, I haven't put that they're coming up, but they have gone up for the regional arts and culture. They significantly went up for the Thriving Communities grant. It's one of these things about grant programs, though, is they're reactive. They're reactive to applications that come in. But, for example, in this funding round, there's recommendation to increase funding to Te Pou Theatre from they were getting 25,000, and they're really significant deliverers to Māori across the region. So there's some really good news stories in there. Some of those, the strategic relationship grants, the multi-year grants, are approved for organisations that work really broadly with other organisations as well. There's a lot of bang for your buck on those grants.
Thank you. There are no more questions. Are we all ready to vote? Oh, right, sorry. That's what I meant. Deputy Mayor, you'd like to speak?
Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to note, because we know what happened. So first of all, thank you for what the work that you've done in the space. And I think that it's all done in accordance with the criteria. So I think we've got confidence that you've provided good rigour over that. I suppose we all know what happened when grants were taken away. You know, we got a huge pushback from the community, and it's a pretty cheap way, dare I use that term, and I'm not happy about the words I've used, but you get my impression, to keep the city feeling good about itself in an often negative environment on cost of living and other things. Interestingly enough, I was listening to Radio New Zealand morning report earlier in the week, and they had anecdotal comments from people about liking free events and things to go to when there's a cost of living crisis on, and that council should still do the extra stuff like festivals and arts. That's fun, even though there is a cost to ratepayer. So I just want to say, with that in mind, I'm very happy to support all these, and thank you for your work. Thank you.
Absolutely, Deputy Mayor. I think we, do forget how strong the pushback was on, although these budgets are quite tiny of our overall budget, the amount of work and the dollar, how far it can go, because it's partnership funding, and we know that these groups really sweat every single dollar they have and often rely on us to fund maybe the first part, and they get several other funders to fund that. So I think it does make a huge difference around our city to have these exciting things happening, and we can support a small part of what they do. So kia ora. All those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? No. Aye. Thank you. And,
Always. Yep.
it's relying on you being tired, Councillor Williamson. Right, and Catherine again, our Ngā Hapori Momoho Thriving Communities Grant allocation.
Kia ora, thank you. So this fund is a much smaller fund, and as you'll see, it was incredibly oversubscribed, but there's a really rigorous process of an assessment panel with internal and external assessors who've come to a decision on the grants that they've recommended from this fund. It's in line with what Councillor Simpson was saying, that the benefit of grants programs is often not just the dollar value of the grant. So within this type of funding round, the organisations who aren't successful with funding, there's quite a lot of benefit there for staff to be able to link up with groups, link them with other funders, or link them with other aspects of council work that might be more suitable for their funding, not necessarily grant funding. So we really use this process in a lot of ways. It's not necessarily just the in and out of the dollar value. But anyway, that's this funding round. There were 95 applications requesting a total of 4.2 million, and this is a very small fund of 295,000. So, yeah.
Thank you. And kia ora, Dickie. Sorry. Councillor Darby.
I'll move or second. But can I just make the point, I've said this probably every time, this is not a good use of our time. This is not a good use of our time, and neither was the Form 1. And I would say this needs to go back, please. I have great trust
Yeah. So Councillor,
We don't do anything else and go stamp. It is not a good use of our time.
Kia ora, Councillor, you might have just missed my comment before to Andy, is that we were on the way, on the process for this, Councillor Dalton and I, before the last annual budget. The budget disappeared, so there was no certainty, and then came back, so we had to quickly rush through what is quite a long process, and this is the only, at the moment, the policy requires it to come here, so we have to have the policy come back to us, but the reason that work was stopped because of the last annual budget removed these completely, so there was no point. But that is the intention, because we agree, like some of the other grants, don't have to come back and us micromanage them. Councillor Bartley.
Thank you for the report to you both. My only concern about what Councillor Darby just raised was then how do we get exposure of this? Because I find around this table, if we don't know about something, then we're very quick to want to get rid of it. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to see this not come before us because then we may end up cancelling grants.
Probably more question to me, and we would debate that before we move. This is the issue that we were going to have a policy that may include delegating it, or maybe to a smaller group, or to memo coming back to the committee after the decision. But if the committee doesn't want that as a unanimous or democratic say, then that will stay coming to us. But I guess the issue is we haven't been able to have that discussion because the policy work stopped when the annual budget. But I agree, Councillor, that but any cancellation would have to come to committee like it did through the annual budget. So just want to let you know that nothing like that could happen without you having a say first. Cool, but very good question. Right, I think all those in favour, no one moved it. Oh no, yes we did. All those in favour? Aye. Aye, sorry, I'm getting tired too. Kia ora, thank you so much, both of you. Annual progress on an update on the climate action transport targeted rate. Nick, kia ora.
Through the chair, kia ora. Tēnā koutou katoa, my name is Nick McKenna and I work in the Chief Sustainability Office as a Program Manager for Climate Action, and my role is to look after the delivery and reporting of this targeted rate. I'm joined today by, good timing, Lauren Simpson, Acting Chief Sustainability Officer, and Adrian Busenville, Lead Mitigation Advisor, who I think is online. The item to present today is an overview of the inaugural Climate Action Transport Targeted Rate, or CATA 2024. Next slide.
And kia ora, Lauren, as well.
So we'll start with this roadmap. It's really a roadmap of Auckland Council's climate response, starting all the way back in 2015 in terms of our membership to C40 cities. However, I'm not going to go through all the items in 2015. Sort of going to jump forward to 2019, where Council unanimously declared a climate emergency. Jumping forward in the lead up to the 2021-22 annual budget, 22-23 annual budget, in 2021, New Zealand experienced its hottest ever year on record, and the 7 of the 9 previous years to that were also the hottest on record at the time. All whilst the COVID-19 pandemic was a predominant concern at the time, the longer term threat recognised by the Council was global temperature rise. In response to that, as part of the 22-23 annual budget, the Council decided to progress, or through consultation, a climate action transport targeted rate. And this received approximately 68% support from all public submissions through that consultation period, and across the 3 different categories relating to individuals, organisations and Māori entities, at least 2/3 support. So in terms of high-level summary, the CATA seeks to invest over $1 billion in climate action on different initiatives over the 10 years, with an immediate focus on low-carbon transport options and greening our neighbourhoods. This includes increasing bus services, decarbonising the ageing ferry fleet, and improvements to active modes such as walking and cycling. Also urban ngāhere or tree planting in areas of vulnerable or heat vulnerability around Auckland to take measures against extreme heat. So what did we say we were going to deliver for Aucklanders? So working through these key deliverables through the bus program, starting with the bus program, there's 10 frequent new routes, an additional 1 million Aucklanders living within 500 metres of a new improved service, and additional 79 low emission buses. Cycling program seeks to add around 18 kilometres in new cycleway and a focus area in New Lynn. The walking program seeks to add around 35 kilometres of walking improvements to the strategic network and a focus area in Manurewa. Ferry program looks to deliver 6 low emission ferries and associated wharf charging infrastructure. And lastly, the ngāhere program looks to plant about 14,800 trees in areas of heat vulnerability and 4,000 trees in tiny and food forests in around Auckland. These key deliverables are both important for obviously the success of the rate itself, but also ensuring we deliver on what was previously consulted on and publicly supported. So to summarise some of the key highlights, to date the bus program has delivered 5 frequent new routes, so 2 out in East Auckland and 3 in West Auckland with the 3 new northwestern routes going live recently. Both these combined have delivered around 177,000 Aucklanders now living within 500 metres of a new improved service. If we look at just the northwestern services alone, since introduced, there's now around 9,500 boardings per day across those 3 new routes. And looking at the increase between Te Atatu and Henderson, has seen a 40% uplift in people taking the bus between those 2 locations. The ferry program has started building its first low emission ferries, so currently there's 1 ferry in fabrication with the bow and engine sections being fabricated. Also, ferries got 4 more low emission ferries in procurement at the moment. The walking program to date has delivered just under 1 kilometre of new walkway in around Waiheke and Ellerslie, and also is on track to deliver just under 3 kilometres by the end of this financial year. Finally, the ngāhere program has procured technical services and specifications in advance of the 2024 planting season. Despite some of these delivery highlights to date, however, there is some challenges and risks being faced across the program in relation to funding, primarily the capital allocation through the RLTP and the RFT being removed, impacting on the capital side, and in terms of operational funding, the savings required through the long-term plan. Ultimately, the long-term plan 2024 to 34 will be a key milestone in ensuring that the CATA deliverables can be delivered as previously consulted on. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Nick. Councillor Bartley.
Thank you for this. I just want to know how, the Marua Road Ellerslie, I wouldn't really class that as a walking project. It's more to help the 600 residents in Sir Edmund Hillary Village cross the road to catch the bus. So it's more public transport kind of project. Even though those 600 residents probably didn't vote for me, but it's all right. Help get it over the line for them.
Yeah, through the chair, it's I think those are part of the walking program funding, hence what's been called walking improvement, even though some of them could essentially just be crossings. So yeah, I take your point.
Very, very grateful for it anyway.
Agreed. I did speak to Auckland Transport about the way that we are calling certain things. Some of the walking projects say however much per kilometre, but then 2 or 3 of the things are intersection upgrades, which are the most expensive part. So there does need to be a refocusing of how we're actually talking about those projects. Councillor Turner. Any other question? Member Ashby.
Kia ora, thank you. Just a quick question from me. Do you see, or could you comment on any foreseen impacts on our Māori community and Manurewa in particular, just in light of reduction in funding in the Auckland Transport draft LTP sort of package? So,
Through the chair, I probably have to refer to Auckland Transport, who hopefully there's someone online that can help answer that question from a more detailed program level. doesn't sound like there is. Can I come back to you on that one? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
Sure. Just around the ferry program, I have mentioned, Mr. Chair, that it would be useful to have some oversight over the ferries that are under consideration, because people that I have met that know something about ferries have very real concerns around the ability of these ferries to deliver, and the significant cost overruns that are emerging. So once again, is it possible to have a report on progress or the lack of over the ferries? And the other question I've got is just around the quantity of emissions that we're actually delivering on to date. Obviously, that's a little tricky because with the bus routes, it's necessary to know what the patronage is and the like, and the number of cars that might have been taken off the road. So that would be helpful, Mr. Chair, so that we know just how much bang we're getting for our buck. So a couple of questions there.
Yep, through the chair. In relation to the ferry program, there are a few points written in the paper and the attachment around mostly internal challenges relating to long lead times of charging equipment through that program. Also, there's some technical challenges as well, charging new ferries that haven't been built before. But I'm happy to provide some more information afterwards if you still require it. In regards to the emissions, there is some work ongoing to better understand the, I guess, the overall calculation of the emissions using some updated best practices, and that's some of the work that's been mentioned in the upcoming work program in the report.
Is that all right?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do make the observation that there is already one low emission ferry operating in Wellington, around which there are some very good metrics that might offer a comparison. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I just had one question. Thank you. We had the working group the other day and just wanted to be clear if you'd had updates from AT around, there was a little bit of confusion around the staggering the funding, well, equalising the funding over 10 years. There was some delay in the walking and cycling funding, but they were looking at maybe bringing that back. Have you had any update?
Through the chair, no specific update yet. I think the minutes and everything is still getting formalised from that meeting. Hopefully we'll get some information back soon.
Okay, thank you. Right, Councillor Councillor Simpson and then Councillor Turner speaking. Don't need to speak now? Okay, cool. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to take an opportunity again, I try at every point, to point out how these policies of ours aren't working and they're counterproductive because we don't focus on the real issues on the ground. Watercare in its statement of intent just recently put here that they're going to reduce their infrastructure emissions by 40% by 2025. Yet in the same meeting that I attended, they talked about a thing called a plough which goes down the sewer. And it's just a mechanical device that you lower in and then assemble, and then the veins shut, and you use hydraulic pressure of the sewage coming in from behind it to clean the sewer. That's been deemed old technology. So we're about to do that job from now on with hydro-sucking trucks, with hydro-vacuum units. Does anybody here understand how much carbon those things emit? So the point I'm making here is that every day we do actions which are going in exactly the opposite direction to all the money we're spending here on these sorts of policies. We really need to come to terms with this, or we're going to end up with no carbon savings and no money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Councillor Ferry.
Thank you. I just really wanted to, I guess, speak positively about this really important part of our work and acknowledge that it's a shame in a way that we're not doing this in a forum where there's, no offence to the audience we have got, but a bit more of an audience, to see the progress that we are making in this space. Not as much as I'd like, but certainly more than we have in the past and heading in the right direction. So I just wanted to strongly support the progress we're making. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, sorry, I wasn't going to speak, but you're quite right, Councillor. Up to all the media in the room, feel free to write something positive about the work. Because it's a targeted rate, we do have to provide quite detailed reporting on that spend. It is a good news story, and I do hope that, you know, all the media that are listening online and that are in the room do take the time to highlight to Auckland about the progress we are making in this space. It is a tangible targeted rate on people's rates bills, and they deserve to know the outcome of that. I'm with you. I think it's a great news. Well done, and let's hope that we do get some media on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments? I agree, Ken. I agree, Councillor Turner, absolutely. The whole of council needs to be thinking about climate and cost every time, and often thinking about climate saves cost in the end with reduction in use of diesel, etc. So I think these, you know, and we need to be reminded 68% of submitters at the time supported this dramatic uplift in our work in climate, tangible benefits for Aucklanders, whether it's buses or trees or ferries and so forth. So it will make a difference. It is making a difference across Auckland. And so thank you for the update, and we're keen to see the progress continue as quickly as possible with Auckland Transport as well. Right, all those in favour?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councillor Turner would like to abstain. Thank you. Would you like to? No, you wouldn't. You're abstaining on receiving the report. Thank you, Councillor. That's all. Summary of Planning, Environment and Parks Committee information memos. Deputy Mayor, seconder, Councillor Baker. All those in favour? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. Everyone's opposing the receiving of things. No. Right, we will now move to, we can move to confidential now? Yes. We're moving to confidential for the confidential item. Can I have a seconder?
Thank you.
Councillor Baker, all those in favour? Any opposed? Right, we'll have a couple-minute break, 5 minutes break to shut down the live stream and get all the thousands of people out of the room. Kia ora.